Hello everyone, this is James Song here. Welcome to this video. Today, we are covering the writing section of the TOEFL test. In particular, as you can see on the screen, we will be covering integrated writing task of the TOEFL test, which is question 1 of 2 in the writing section of the TOEFL test. Most of you by now may be familiar with the format of this question, but just in case some of you who are not familiar with the integrated writing test yet, or even first time watching integrated writing video, I'll cover direction, question, and the format of this task really quickly. So let's go. Direction, you have 20 minutes to plan and write your response. So the timing. First of all, you will be given 3 minutes extra to read the reading passage and make notes within 3 minutes. But don't worry too much, because even after 3 minutes, you will be able to see the reading passage throughout whole 20 minutes of writing this essay, okay? And after 3 minutes, listening passage will be played only once, real time. So you need to write notes on the listening passage. And then after that, stopwatch will be popped up, and you'll have 20 minutes and you'll count down towards 0, and you need to successfully write the answer to this task, write an essay. Okay, so that's the format of how it goes. So let's read the directions real quick. You have 20 minutes to plan and write your response. Your response will be judged on the basis of the quality of your writing. As I always say, I have strategy videos and I have other videos, and from those videos, I will explain the writing rubric, which means how ETS score your writing tasks. So I won't get into too much during this video because it will take too much time. But quality of your writing basically means your contents, your development, and grammar, okay? And on how well your response presents the points in the lecture, okay? So lecture comes from listening passage. So more important, the subject of this task and the essay we write, the subject should be the listening passage, okay? And how the listening passage's summary relate to the reading passage. That's what we need to do. So the question repeats this once more and emphasize. Summarize the points made in the lecture, meaning summarize the points made in the listening you just heard. Explain how those points in the listening cast doubts on the points made in the reading. So we can immediately understand. Points in the listening will probably oppose the points made in the reading passage. That will be the format of the essay you need to write, compare and contrast type of an essay, okay? So my lesson covering integrated writing always have 3 steps, consists of 3 steps. Step 1, we cover the reading passage together, sentence by sentence. And then we'll listen to the step 2, we'll listen to the listening passage and write perfect notes, hopefully. And then step 3, I'll show you my model essay and analyze what you need to do to get the perfect score on this task, okay? And in some other videos covering integrated writing task, I will show you actually live demonstration of trying to cover the reading passage within 3 minutes and writing notes, and then go back to the passage and interpret what my notes mean. But today's video will just cover sentence by sentence, the reading passage. We'll cover the reading passage a little bit more thoroughly, rather than trying to give you a live demonstration within 3 minutes. Okay, so I'll mix it up. Some videos I try to write notes within 3 minutes, stopwatch up, okay, to give you a live demo. Some other videos like today, we'll do it a little bit more thoroughly, okay? So let's get started. Step 1, covering the reading passage together and comprehend and understand together. Okay. Many scientists believe it would be possible to maintain a permanent human presence on Mars or Moon. Okay, so not every, but many scientists believe it's possible to maintain a permanent human presence where? On Mars or Moon, okay? On the other hand, excuse me, conditions on Venus, okay, not Mars or Moons. What about conditions on Venus? What about Venus? Are so extreme and inhospitable, okay, so you cannot live there, inhospitable. You cannot bear, okay, very extreme and you cannot live. That maintaining a human presence in Venus, on Venus, would be impossible. Okay, so we'll probably get 3 reasons of why maintaining human presence on Venus is impossible. Okay, we'll probably get 3 conditions in our body paragraph. So if I was just writing the reading part, because I can always go back and read the passage while I write an essay for this task, I'll really write very little just to help me tackle the listening part, because there's no point writing a lot since we can always read this passage while we're doing these tasks, right? So I just need enough notes to help me listen to the listening passage better, okay? All right, so I'll just write something like, okay, so reading intro, conditions on Venus, extreme, so, cannot maintain human presence, something like this, okay? So I can make a full sentence out of this, okay? Conditions on Venus are so extreme that maintaining human presence on Venus is impossible. Done. Good start, body 1. First, atmospheric pressure at Venus surface is at least 90 times greater than the pressure at Earth's surface. So, too much pressure. It will just crush me down or push me down into the ground or break me, okay? The gravity, the pressure, atmospheric pressure will be just too much to bear, too much for me to live. This means, for example, force of 100 kilograms is pressing me down on every centimeters of surface. So it's just trying to tell you a lot of force will be pressing you down, okay? So you cannot live like on Earth. For example, more detail again, all spacecraft that have landed on Venus has been crushed. Okay, wow, it's pretty scary. By this extreme pressure, this extreme atmospheric pressure, okay? Almost anything humans might land on Venus will be crushed as well, right? So first body, atmospheric pressure too much compared to Earth. This means 100 kilograms in pressing down. So yeah, I mean, I could have written 100 kilograms. I mean, just see all this detail as one, because I can always read these sentences again, Okay, all right. So I just say just the last bit, okay? Because this summarized the whole detail very well, okay? Almost anything human might land, okay? Almost everything human might land on Venus would be crushed, okay? Yeah, because of too much atmospheric pressure. All right, second, so, I can look at these notes and make the sentence. First reason is that atmospheric pressure would be just too great. Too much atmospheric pressure compared to Earth. So almost anything human might try to land on Venus would be crushed. So humans cannot live there. Okay, moving right along very quick. Yeah, too much. So anything human might land would be crushed. Second, as far as we know so far, there are no reservoir of water on Venus surface. Okay, so as far as we know until now, at least, may not be the same in the future. They may find something in the future, but so far, there is no trace of water on the surface of Venus, okay, on Venus surface and atmosphere of Venus. Okay, so no water. We cannot live there. Planet's atmosphere made up mostly of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and sulfuric acid. Okay, so planet's atmosphere is not made up of like oxygen, maybe we need. Okay, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, sulfuric acid. Contains hardly any oxygen, here we go, or water vapor. So no water and no oxygen. How can we live? How can human live without water and oxygen? Impossible, right? So let's read on. Water and oxygen would therefore probably have to be supplied to Venus from Earth. I mean, that's impossible. It's like, what is this? Online shopping? Okay, I mean, why are we live there in the first place if we have to ship oxygen and water? It sounds ridiculous. Okay, so that would be the first detail. So topic sentence would be no water on Venus surface at least, and not much oxygen in the atmosphere. So we cannot get much oxygen and water on Venus surface. Okay. And water and oxygen would therefore probably have to be supplied to Venus from Earth. So this is detail 1. So idea of ensuring regular supply of water and oxygen from Earth is impractical in the most extreme cases. Yeah, it's just won't work. How can we regularly ship water and oxygen so that we can survive there? It's just, sounds very impractical, right? And would therefore defeat the purpose of establishing permanent station on Venus. Yeah, like what's the point of living there if we cannot survive without water and oxygen on Venus surface, right? Yeah, so not much or no water and oxygen. So it will probably be supplied from Earth, okay? And this is not practical and defeats the purpose of trying to create human presence, okay? Like, what's the point? Trying to make a permanent presence of human being where there is no oxygen and water, right? Cool. So no water and oxygen must be supplied from Earth, so it's not practical and defeats the purpose of trying to create human presence on Venus. Okay, so far so good. So that's detail 2. Not practical and defeats the purpose. Okay. Cool. Very smoothly moving on. Body 3. Let's have a look. Third, very little sunlight reaches the planet's surface. So no sun. No sunlight, no oxygen, no water. It doesn't seem like a right place for human being. Okay, very little sunlight reaches the planet's surface. Okay, so we cannot live on Venus's surface. It would be too cold. Okay, let's read on. About 60% of the sunlight that hits the Venus is reflected back into space. Okay, by the thick clouds that fills the atmosphere. Okay, Venus surface fills the atmosphere. We cannot absorb 60% of the sunlight because it just reflects it back into the space. So we cannot get that sunlight. So 60% gets reflected away from Venus, which means only 40% of the sunlight can get through the clouds. Okay, so they only get 40%, which may not be ideal. Below this cloud is dense layer. Okay, so there's another trouble. So, oops. So 60% reflected away. So we can only get 40%. That's detail 1. And there's another detail below these clouds. There's another trouble. Okay, so we only can get 40%. But then again, below these clouds that reflect 60% away and only get 40%, and below these clouds, there is something else. What is it? Dense layer of carbon dioxide. What does it do? Which blocks even more light. So we cannot even get 40%. Okay, it's not like at least all of the 40% are absorbed. Okay, even within 40%, this layer of carbon dioxide will block some of the sunlight from 40% left. Okay, so that's your real trouble. The lack of light would prevent the use of solar power cells. Yeah, not enough light. Not enough light. So what happens to humans could not get electricity to power their machines and equipment. Okay, so if I synthesize a little bit, you don't have to, but I'd like to, because that's like a conclusion. So therefore, all right, so not much light for humans to get electricity to power our machines to live. Okay, not enough light to be able to live. Okay, topic sentence. And detail 1, 60% reflected by clouds and 40% left. But even then, some of this 40% blocked by dense layer of carbon dioxide. Okay. Yeah, so let's look at these notes and make full sentences so that we got the contents absolutely right and spot on. So conditions on Venus surface are so extreme and inhospitable, it's impossible to maintain human presence on Venus. First reason, atmospheric pressure is too great. So anything human might try to land on Venus surface will be crushed with this pressure. Second, not much water and oxygen. So it needs to be supplied from Earth, and it's impractical and defeats the purpose. Third reason, not much light. for humans to get enough power, get enough electricity to power the machines to live, we need our mobile phones. We need our phones, right? Or computers or whatever, or heater or air conditioner, whatever that might be. Okay, so not enough light for humans to generate enough electricity to live. Okay, that's topic sentence. Detail, 60% of the sunlight are reflected by thick clouds, and 40% left are again blocked by dense layer of carbon dioxide below the clouds. Yeah, perfect. So I'm sure we understood and covered the reading passage quite completely. So let's move on to step 2. Let's see you in 2 seconds. I'll play the listening passage and we can write the perfect notes together right here when I come back. Okay, let's move on. Okay, guys. Yeah, don't be surprised. I just enlarged the notes page we have just written so that I can show you the listening notes on here while looking at the reading notes at the same time to compare and contrast, like you should really do in your TOEFL test. Okay, do it on the same page. Draw the line in the middle or fold in half or whatever. Okay. All right. So let's continue. Let's listen to the listening passage and trying to write notes. Let's go. Here we go, guys.
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic you just read about.
Setting up a permanent station on Venus may not be without challenges, but it is certainly possible. One solution that's been proposed is to establish a station that would be floating in Venus's atmosphere, like a balloon, rather than standing on its surface. The station would float about 50 kilometers above Venus's surface. On a station located high in the atmosphere, the problems the reading mentions can be solved. First, atmospheric pressure. Well, it is a well-known physical fact that high up in the atmosphere, the pressure is much lower than at the surface. So, while the pressure at Venus's surface is too high for humans, 50 kilometers up in the atmosphere, the pressure is equal to the normal pressure we are used to here on Earth. There would be no danger of the station getting crushed. Second, water and oxygen. Well, as you read, Venus's atmosphere contains compounds such as carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid. There are chemical processes that could be used on the station to make water and oxygen out of these compounds. So, the water and oxygen necessary for human survival could be produced using chemical materials that can be easily obtained from Venus's atmosphere. It would not be necessary to import them. Third, the light-blocking clouds. Well, it's true that there are still clouds 50 kilometers above Venus's surface. However, clouds above that level are not very thick, so there would be a considerable amount of sunlight filtering through. Moreover, as you read, the clouds reflect sunlight. The station could make use of this reflected light, too. In other words, its solar power cells could collect both the direct sunlight filtering from above and the sunlight reflected by the clouds below. More than enough electricity could be generated this way to power the station.
Summarize the points made in the lecture, being sure to explain how the proposal discussed in the lecture would solve the specific challenges described in the reading passage.
Okay, how much did you get? I'm pretty confident. Let's go through it together. Okay. So in the introductory paragraph in the listening, basically the lecturer said, it may be impossible at the surface level So on the Venus's surface, okay, but if we have the station, floating station, above 50 kilometers above the Venus's surface in the atmosphere, in the Venus atmosphere. So don't have the human presence on the surface of Venus. Yeah, surface of Venus would be hard or impossible. But if we make a station, 50 kilometers floating station above the surface of Venus, okay, these problems can be solved, right? So yeah, he's agreeing that if you want to have the presence on the surface of Venus, Venus's surface, is not going to work. But if we make a floating station, human station, that is 50 kilometers above the surface of Venus, then we should be able to maintain human presence, okay, at the Venus's atmosphere, 50 kilometers up from the surface. Yeah, sorry, I'm repeating myself 3 times. Okay, so let's move on. So it's very indirect. We need to do some synthesis. We need to change the order around, and we need to paraphrase, and we need to understand, and we need to write the topic sentence. We cannot just kind of do a dictation of this in our essay. But, you know, when we're writing notes, there's no other ways because we'll lose so much content. We just write it down, and remember, it's indirect. And when we write the essay, we can change the order around, right? So it said in the higher up in the atmosphere, the atmospheric pressure is a lot lower, okay? So at the surface level, the pressure will be too much, but at this level, okay, that the lecturer proposed, about 50 kilometers above the surface, all right, higher up in the atmosphere that the lecturer is proposing, actual pressure will be similar, about the same as the Earth pressure on the Earth's surface. What does it mean? It's livable, right? So on Venus's surface, if we're trying to live on the surface of Venus, we will be crushed. But higher up in the atmosphere, like 50 kilometers above, for example, atmospheric pressure is a lot lower. Actually, it's almost similar to Earth pressure. So we can live there, no problem. Okay, nothing will be crushed. Okay. So yeah, so I'll show you in the model essay. Okay. But we got all the contents down, which is good. The second body paragraph, you know, it has carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid, okay, as the reading said, okay, which we didn't write down. We didn't bother because the main point of the reading in the second paragraph was there are not enough water and oxygen, or none, so it has to be shipped from Earth, right? But they do have carbon dioxide, you know, sulfuric acid, okay, and nitrogen. So in the listening, it's saying they can go through the chemical process using carbon dioxide, sulfuric acid, and or nitrogen, or whatever the chemicals you know, Venus has. They can use that chemical, those chemicals, and go through the chemical process using existing materials to generate, make, produce oxygen and water. Okay, all right. Okay, so humans could go through chemical process by using materials from Venus, such as carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid, to make oxygen and water. They can create it, right? So there will be no need to import to be supplied from Earth, which would defeat the purpose of trying to maintain human presence, and it will be just totally impractical. It's just ridiculous, right? Because people would die immediately without water and oxygen. So how often and how much, you try to import it from Earth, right? It just doesn't make any sense, but there will be no need for that, right? Because you can produce, you can make oxygen and water at Venus by using chemicals available at Venus. Okay, cool. All right, third body paragraph. So cloud higher up in the atmosphere, a little bit like first body paragraph, okay? Not at the surface level, but if the station is located higher up in the atmosphere, not at the surface of Venus surface, then cloud will not be that thick. What does that mean? You can get more lights, more sunlight, because the cloud will not be that thick, right? Okay, it's not like 60% of the light will be reflected away to the space from the clouds, because if you try to live at the surface of Venus, the cloud will be too thick. But if you go up, higher up in the atmosphere, the cloud will not be that thick. Means there will be less sunlight will be reflected away. More will be absorbed. Okay. And on top of that, so more light will be absorbed rather than reflected away. And second, this was really interesting. You can actually make use of reflected light. You need to understand this part. It's a little bit hard. So if you are at the surface level, if the lights are reflected back to the space, you cannot use that because sunlight reflected back into the atmosphere. It doesn't reach the surface level. But if your station is located in the atmosphere, then if the lights are reflected from the surface back into the atmosphere, you can actually get some of that. All right. So if you're at the surface, the lights are reflected from the clouds back into the space, you cannot get any of that sunlight if you are trying to live at the surface. But if you're at the atmosphere, if you're higher up, then you can actually catch some of the reflected lights from the cloud as well, because you are at the atmosphere, not at the surface. Understood? Yeah. So you could get more sunlight absorbed because clouds are thinner, not as thick. So you can get more light absorbed. Plus, you can actually catch some of the reflected light back into the atmosphere, back into the space, because you are at the atmosphere, not on the surface. Okay? So more absorption, more lights, plus you can catch some reflected light. So important detail is the consequence. So what is the result? Because you can get light, more light absorption, and catch some reflected lights, these two light sources combined, you will get enough light, unlike at the surface level, you will actually get enough light to generate, create, produce enough electricity on Venus to create enough electricity. Okay, generate enough electricity from enough light sources to live. Okay, now you can use your mobile phone. Okay, you can use your phone, you can use your computer, you can create enough electricity from enough light sources to, turn on your aircon and heaters and whatever you need. Okay, so you can receive enough light to produce, create, generate enough electricity for humans to stay there and live. Okay, so let's listen to the listening passage one more time and match him up with our notes, but let me just read this through real quick. Okay, it has some challenges, but it's certainly possible to have human presence in Venus if we don't live at the surface of the Venus, but trying to have a floating station at the Venus atmosphere about 50 kilometers above the surface level. First, as you go higher up in the atmospheric pressure drops. So at the station, the atmospheric pressure would be similar to Earth's pressure, so nothing will be crushed and humans could live. Second, through the chemical process, oxygen and water can be created, can be produced in Venus, because Venus has chemicals like carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid. So oxygen and waters can be made in Venus. So there's no need to import water and oxygen from Earth. Third, higher up in the atmosphere, the cloud will not be as thick, so you will receive more sunlight. Plus, since you are higher up in the atmosphere, you can use some reflected light. So there will be enough light received to generate enough electricity for humans to live. Okay? So let's listen to the listening passage and match up our notes, okay, to understand this passage clearly. Here we go.
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic you just read about.
Setting up a permanent station on Venus may not be without challenges, but it is certainly possible. One solution that's been proposed is to establish a station that would be floating in Venus's atmosphere, like a balloon, rather than standing on its surface. The station would float about 50 kilometers above Venus's surface. On a station located high in the atmosphere, the problems the reading mentions can be solved. First, atmospheric pressure. Well, it is a well-known physical fact that high up in the atmosphere, the pressure is much lower than at the surface. So, while the pressure at Venus's surface is too high for humans, 50 kilometers up in the atmosphere, the pressure is equal to the normal pressure we are used to here on Earth. There would be no danger of the station getting crushed. Second, water and oxygen. Well, as you read, Venus's atmosphere contains compounds such as carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid. There are chemical processes that could be used on the station to make water and oxygen out of these compounds. So, the water and oxygen necessary for human survival could be produced using chemical materials that can be easily obtained from Venus's atmosphere. It would not be necessary to import them. Third, the light-blocking clouds. Well, it's true that there are still clouds 50 kilometers above Venus's surface. However, clouds above that level are not very thick, so there would be a considerable amount of sunlight filtering through. Moreover, as you read, the clouds reflect sunlight. The station could make use of this reflected light too. In other words, its solar power cells could collect both the direct sunlight filtering from above and the sunlight reflected by the clouds below. More than enough electricity could be generated this way to power the station.
Beautiful, right? Perfect. Okay.
Summarize the points made in the...
So second step done. So let's move to the final step. Let's put these listening and reading notes on our left and pull up the model essay on our right. And let's see how we can perfectly make a full sentences from the notes we have successfully written down. Okay. So step 3, let's look at model essay and let's get the perfect score. Let's go, guys. Okay, guys, let's finish this off. So we have the model essay here and we have the notes on the left. So let's analyze how this model essay can be created based on the notes that we have produced. So 3 sentences, introduction, if possible, always, to write the perfect integrated writing task. Okay. So you can use this as the almost like a template to this kind of question. So it was arguing about one point whether this is possible or not. So topic of discussion was whether it is possible to maintain permanent human presence on Venus, right? So the template could be both reading and listening passages are dealing with whether it is possible or not, right? So the topic of discussion is whether it is possible, it is feasible to maintain a permanent human presence on Venus, okay, or not. So this is a topic of discussion. We need to catch and write in there. And the template is both reading and listening passages are dealing with whether it is possible to maintain permanent human presence on Venus, okay? Sorry if I repeated myself. Second sentence, reading says this, however, listening says that, okay? The reading states 3 problems that make a permanent presence unfeasible, right? Okay, so reading states 3 problems that makes this presence, this human presence, impossible, right? Nice and clear. And third sentence, however, listening, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, however, the listening states that building a floating station in Venus atmosphere 50 kilometers above the surface, right? So, you know, it's minor details, so you can take this out. So, however, the listening states that building a floating station in Venus atmosphere will solve the problems the reading mentioned. Okay? Right? So, however, the listening states that building a floating station in Venus atmosphere will solve the problems mentioned in the reading. All right? So, both reading and listenings are topic of discussion, the common topic they're discussing. The second sentence, reading says this, reading's thesis of introduction. However, listening says that. Okay? The thesis of the listening. Cool. Done and dusted. Body 1. First, the lecture in the listening claims that, so could be used as a template, I think, if you want it. High up in the atmosphere, the pressure is much lower than at the surface. Okay? So topic sentence done. Main idea of this paragraph. So details are 50 kilometers above the atmosphere, the pressure is the same as the Earth. So nothing will be crushed and it will be livable higher up in the atmosphere. Okay, two details. So 50 kilometers up in the atmosphere, the pressure is equal to the normal pressure on Earth. Detail 1 completed. Therefore, there will be no danger of station getting crushed. Detail 2. Beautiful. Okay, perfect. This refutes the reading's claim that, so bridge sentence template you can use when you're getting into the reading part. Okay, so what does reading part says? Air pressure is too great, almost anything humans try to land on Venus surface will be crushed. Okay. So this refutes the reading's claim that. So what's the reading's point? Atmospheric pressure at Venus surface is much higher than at Earth's surface. Therefore, thus, almost anything that human land on Venus will be crushed. Means it's not livable because everything will be crushed. So body 1 completed. Let's move on to body 2. Second, the lecture explains that water and oxygen could be produced on Venus. Okay, so oxygen and water can be made in Venus. Okay, as Venus's atmosphere contains compounds such as carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid, chemical process would be utilized, or there are chemical processes, or there are possible chemical processes, however you want to paraphrase, I guess, to make water and oxygen on Venus. Okay, so there are chemicals available to use chemical process to make oxygen and water. Detail 1. Okay, so you don't need to import oxygen and water from Earth, which is impractical, right? Okay, so it would not be necessary to import, slight paraphrase, water and oxygen from Earth. Okay, so direct topic sentence, main idea, done. And because Venus atmosphere has necessary material like carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid to make water and oxygen. Detail 1. Okay, so water and oxygen can be created on Venus. Topic sentence. They have necessary compounds or chemicals like carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid to make water and oxygen on Venus, from Venus. Detail 1. And detail 2, so you don't need to import water and oxygen from Earth. Okay? Yeah, perfectly done. This opposes reading's claim that, so bridge expression template to move into the reading summary. So the reading summary is water and oxygen is not available, so it needs to be supplied from Earth, which is ridiculous, cannot be done, not practical. Okay. The lack of oxygen and water in Venus would force these to be supplied from Earth, which makes a permanent station on Venus impractical, pointless. Okay, it does not meet the purpose of trying to live there. Okay, so not enough oxygen and water in Venus would force these to be supplied from Earth, which is totally impractical. Okay. Topic sentence and detail as one thing when we summarize the reading part to make it shorter than the listening part. Listening, you write down everything, okay? The listening part, you write your topic sentence, detail 1, detail 2, okay? The reading part, you try to summarize as a whole. Topic sentence plus detail as a whole into one sentence, ideally, okay? Cool. So let's finish this off. All right. Last body paragraph. Third, the lecture states that enough light can be received to generate adequate amount of electricity. So however you want to paraphrase it. Okay, so the main point, if we want to synthesize and create a topic sentence, is basically at the Venus atmosphere higher up, 50 kilometers above the surface, we can receive enough light, sunlight, to create enough electricity for us to live on Venus. That's the point, okay? So how I wrote it, the lecture states that, okay, template, enough light can be received to generate enough electricity for humans to live, okay? Adequate amount, right? Necessary amount. So topic sentence, main idea, okay? So 2 points would be 50 kilometers above the surface or higher up in the atmosphere or floating station at the atmosphere. We can receive more light because of the thinner clouds and make use of reflected lights as well. Okay, so we can create more electricity. Okay, so that's the detail. Since clouds above 50 kilometers above Venus surface are not very thick, there will be sufficient sunlight filtering through, so we can absorb more sunlight. Additionally, the station could also use the reflected light. Yeah, again, we have 4 sentences summary here, which is not usual. We 3 sentences are enough, but we thought, we wanted to be a little bit detailed and write the consequences. You can. I mean, this part would not really affect your score as much, all right? So what I mean is, even if you didn't write this sentence down, you would probably get the perfect score, okay? Yeah, definitely. So solar power cells can collect both direct and reflected light to generate enough electricity. Okay, so yeah, it's a consequences, and we wrote it loud and clear in our first sentence. Enough light can be received to generate enough electricity for humans to live, right? So you don't really need to write this sentence for points, okay? But I thought it was natural. Yeah, it got a little longer, which is not ideal, but it kind of flow better to include this sentence, so I did, okay? But usually 3 sentences are enough because this is a summarization, not dictation, okay? All right, last part. This refutes the reading's claim that, so another template you can use. Moving into the reading's summary. Insufficient sunlight reaches the Venus surface to create electricity due to reflection from thick clouds and blockage by dense layer of CO2. Okay, so this as like a topic sentence. So there are two details actually, but I just kind of, put it into one idea as a whole. Okay, so not enough light will be received to generate enough electricity for humans to live because, thick clouds will reflect the light away, and dense layer of carbon dioxide will also block the lights. Okay, into one sentence. So you got a bit long here. So this refutes the reading's claim that insufficient sunlight reaches the Venus surface to create necessary amount of electricity for humans to live. An idea? Because due to thick cloud will reflect the light away, and dense layer of carbon dioxide will block the lights. Okay, so yeah, third paragraph, pretty long, third body paragraph. Okay, bit longer than usual, but hey, you need to be flexible. Okay, so I won't read the essay again because I want to emphasize and show you one more time, but I don't have to read it. You can read it by yourself. So there you have it. Perfectly done and dusted. Another task done, and you can work towards this quality to score perfect score in integrating writing tasks. I hope this was useful, and thank you very much once again. And I really appreciate you have chosen me to study TOEFL with. So I'll try my best to come up with, another lesson that is worth your time. Okay. All right, guys, let's keep going. And thank you very much for watching this video till the end. And I'll see you next time with another great lesson. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Bye. Hello, everyone. This is James Song here. Welcome back to the TOEFL show. As you see on the screen, we are covering TOEFL writing question 2 type of question, writing for an academic discussion. So let's go. So as you can see on the screen, on the left-hand side, there is an instruction and also the question we need to write about. And on the right, we get to actually see 2 answers from 2 other students. So the logic of this question is that there is a question, and this is a notice board, and you are adding your own opinion on this notice board. Okay, so let's quickly look at the instruction. If you have been watching my video for my previous TOEFL writing question 2, then you would have already learned what to do. But let me be brief. Still, let's not totally skip the introduction. So your professor is teaching a class on business, so your question will be based on business subject in university. So your task is write a post, something like this, right? It's an online post, so it's not a formal essay in any means, right? So write a post, something like this, responding to the professor's question, okay? So in your response, so you need to achieve this criteria to get the good score, high score, and the perfect score I'm trying to demonstrate through this video lecture. So express and support your opinion. So as it says, so type of question will allow you to express your own opinion. So quite often when you are writing this task, Many students unconsciously, instinctively worry and think about what should be the answer and what should be the reason. That's where a lot of students go wrong. You have to think that I am allowed to create my own answer and create my own reasons. Okay? So you can give your own subjective answer. So express your opinion and support it. So make it logical or make it persuasive. I'll show you exactly how you can do that in the easiest and the best way to get the perfect score. All right? I always say this, the secret formula is create a structure, what I call what, why, how. That's all you have to do, right? Just like speaking question 1, all right? If you have been watching my videos already, nothing different, okay? Structure-wise, contents-wise, we're going to do exactly the same as speaking question 1, all right? And make a contribution to the discussion. So let me explain this in an easier term and explanation for you, so you understand what you need to do. Make a contribution. So make some kind of addition and add value to this existing discussion. Because you can already read 2 answers from 2 different students, it is possible to just use this idea or use some idea against this idea and kind of copy paste in a way without adding your own opinion, right? So what does it mean by make a contribution to the discussion? Means you must add your own contents in order to add some value to this discussion. Don't just copy and paste. Don't just paraphrase. That's cheating. You cannot do that. You need to add your own contents. That's all. That's all it is. That's all it means. Okay? An effective response will contain at least 100 words. So don't be overly tricked by this instruction. It says at least. So minimum word count. This test is suggesting, I mean, even the shortest possible answer you should write over 100 words to get a good score. But maximum word count doesn't exist. So technically, you could easily write 150 to even 200 words. Using my structure, and you will get the perfect score. You will be able to get the perfect score, I should say. And my template, my structure will always end up, if the answer is quite short, around 135, 125 words to 185 or even 200 words. So somewhere in between 135 to 170 or 80 words. That's my answer usually, okay? It always comes out around that word count. So that's done. All right, so let's read a question. Dr. Diaz, business professor, to sustain, to keep a prosperous, going well, successful, abundant business. So keep a thriving business, keep a good business, both customer retention, so keeping your customer, not losing your customer, okay? And new customer acquisition. Acquisition means like attaining, acquiring, getting, buying. That's acquire, get, all right? Attain or buy. So getting new customers are both significant, okay? So to keep a successful business, both strategy, keeping your existing customers and going out to the market and getting new customers, both strategies are both important. Some say keeping loyal customer, your existing current customer, is the key to the business success. So number one, strategy is the key. However, others argue that acquiring new customers, rather than just keeping your existing customer, going out to the market and attracting, gaining new customers is more important, is the bigger key to the success. All right? Okay, so some says keeping your existing customer, this strategy is more important to keep a successful business. Others say more important strategy is finding and getting new customers. Okay, all right. So, question is obvious. What do you think? Okay, closed question, typical closed question, exactly like TOEFL speaking question 1. So I should take a pick, right? I think strategy number 1, customer retention, keeping your existing customers and keep selling to them is more important strategy to sustain a prosperous business. No, I think acquiring new customer is more important strategy to keep a prosperous business, if I have to choose one. Okay, so which strategy should be prioritized? So you have to pick one over the other. You need to prioritize. Prioritize means, as you know, keeping choosing one as more important than the other. Okay, prioritize for companies to continue to thrive, continue to be a success, continue to do well. Okay, choose one strategy. It's very straightforward. Sometimes TOEFL kind of just say to you, and you need to choose one, but they don't say this and emphasize this directly. But then, thanks to this question, it gives you a very direct repetition and say, make sure you choose one. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good score. Okay, so choose one over the other and explain why. Okay, so I want to say a couple of things. First and foremost, this question, if you think about it, if you think deep about it, it is a very extreme and somewhat even overly generalized question. If you think about it, even if you have no clue about the business as a university subject, of course, you have to do both. You have to do both well, and you cannot just do one and not do the other. It's a matter of a mix, marketing mix. Maybe you decide to do the first strategy 60%, 55%, 70%, and the second strategy 40%, 45%, or 30%. In real life, this is a very extreme scenario. You're not going to just do one and not do the other one, but accept the question. TOEFL speaking question 1 and TOEFL writing question 2 is purposely making this kind of like an extreme situation to create a question for the test. Okay? So go with it. Like, don't ever do things like, I don't think it's a good idea to choose one over the other, because in reality, you should do both well for your business to succeed. It's a matter of how much you do it. It's about how you create the marketing mix. Don't say that. You are not going to get the good score because you are not answering the question, unfortunately. You may be right and very smart and very clever in real life, but you are not answering the question directly. So the test maker cannot give you any good score. It's not possible. So I know it's awkward, but they are doing this in purpose So just accept it. You know, they're kind of showing their hands to shake your hands, and you must shake it because you are test taker. You don't have a choice. All right. So let's have a quick peek at the two other students' answer. And since this is a closed question, not an open question, so hopefully it's easier, very direct, and hopefully we can get plenty of hints from other students' answers. Okay. What I mean by closed question, as I already explained multiple times in my other videos, you are not really creating an answer. Answer is already given to you and you're just choosing. Like, which fruit do you prefer? Apple or banana? You're not really creating your answer. You just need to choose apple or you just need to choose banana. And the real game starts only when you need to start thinking about why, like the reason and how, explanation. Okay? So that's closed question. Just like TOEFL speaking question 1. All right. Kelly, businesses should focus on customer retention. Very direct. Thank you. So Kelly think strategy 1 is more important than strategy 2. I believe it is more cost effective, means it's a business language. Cost effective means it costs less money or cheaper to retain, keep existing customer than to attract new ones. So for business, I mean, it's a common sense. Even if you don't have a lot of knowledge about business as a subject, how business make money? They need to sell product or services, so they get the sales called revenue, the money from the customers, and you need to minus what you spend on to run the business. We call that cost, okay? So revenue minus cost is, as you know, profit, ching ching, right? So if you are making more sales or same amount of sales, and if your cost is lower, then it's good for the business, right? So it's saying that customer retention is more important because when you're making a sales, it costs less to sell existing customer than trying to sell it to new customers. So it's more beneficial. Probably you're going to make more profits. Okay. This is because why? Why is it cheaper to sell it to current customers? Marketing will be required to attract new customers. Okay. So this means they don't know us. They haven't bought from us. So we need to attract the customers and we have to do some marketing. We need to do some advertising, or we need to let some people know about our product and services. They are not going to come to me naturally because they don't know who we are as a business, right? So if you want to attract new customers, you have to do marketing or more marketing. So it's going to be more expensive. So retaining, keeping existing customer, you don't have to do marketing. They already know us. They are already buying from us. So it's going to cost less. So that's why we should focus on customer retention. Okay. And it is more expensive. Yeah. Additionally, plus current customers are they already know with the customer's products and services. So the company doesn't need to spend much on advertising. It's explaining what he already said. It's not really a new reason. Okay. It's trying to explain what he said deeper and further, which I explained already. Okay. So to take notes, Kelly think customer retention is a better strategy, more important strategy, because it's going to cost less to do this than trying to win new customers because existing customers know us already, so we don't need to do marketing, or we only need to do less marketing. Okay, I don't know that's right, but we'll talk about it later. Okay, and new customer means it's new, they don't know us, so we need to do more marketing, which means we need to spend more money to make sales. So it's less cost effective, this one, and it's more cost effective, this one. So we should go for customer retention strategy. Okay. All right, cool. Understood. I'm not sure I agree with Kelly, but I can understand why she thinks that way. That's all you have to do. If you do that successfully, you're going to get the good score, if not the perfect score every time. Please, please, please don't get stuck by keep getting confused like, oh, is this the right answer? Is this the wrong answer? There's no such things, okay? There's no such thing as the right and wrong answer, okay? Your answer is the right answer if you support it well and made good contribution to the discussion. And your answer is not wrong, never wrong, but not a very good one if you cannot support it well and you didn't really contribute well to this discussion, okay? All right, let's read Paul. Try to get more hint. I disagree with Kelly that businesses should rely solely on a customer retention. Very clever, bit cheeky. I'm not sure whether I recommend this or not. I'm not sure whether this is a minor detail, minor point. So just listen to this as an additional point at your leisure. This is not important point, but let me start with something minor. I'm not sure Kelly said should rely solely means only on a customer retention. See what Paul is doing here? So he's trying to make his argument persuasive by not wrongly, but exaggerating a little bit. Okay. So Kelly says business should focus on or focus more on customer retention. She never really said business should rely only on an existing customer. Kelly didn't really said that. So, Paul is a bit cheeky, but trying to be persuasive by exaggerating a little bit. Okay. But anyway, all right. So why does Paul think that? I think gaining new customer can be a powerful way for a company to succeed. Okay. It's a repetition. Why? Because its reputation is how customer think about the company. Okay. Reputable means customer think very highly of the business. So, maybe Apple is a very reputable company. Amazon is a very reputable company. They have a good reputation. Okay. Highly regarded in the market by the customers. Okay. So the reason is company's reputation can be enhanced, can be improved, can be increased through new customers' positive word of mouth referral, of course. Okay. So it's something additional because it's new. You are adding new customers, new positive review, new positive referral to the market. So you are adding something. If it was a 0 or 1, because you have existing customer, You're adding something new. So you are adding your reputation. Okay. In this case, Paul is very, very specific and detailed in his answer. He jumps into detail, which I don't particularly like 100%. You should kind of stream it. You should kind of drill down to detail one by one to make your writing better, more persuasive. Okay. But he's jumping to the detail, saying, focusing on one point. When you get this new customer, they could, they would, or they will give, say some good things to other people. So new customer could give some positive words, verbal recommendation to their peers, to their friends, to their family and surrounding. Okay. So you are actually getting additional marketing for free. Okay. From the new customers. So new customers bring in more new customers, hopefully more new customers give more referrals and gives more new customers. That's what Paul is saying essentially. So this is very good for the business because it will do more marketing for the business and company's image, company's reputation can be improved by these new customers' recommendation to other people. Okay. Therefore, the new customer will help the company gain an advantage over its competitors to become more successful. Okay. So let's exaggerate once again. Let's make it extreme. Let's say the company is keep getting new customers. It's positive cycles. Okay. Talking about the products to more new customers and on and on and on and on and on. And let's say its competitors do not bother getting new customers, but only selling to the current customers, then you are not going to get that additional word of mouth referral. You are not going to get that additional marketing effect. Okay. Recommendation. So, of course, business that is keep acquiring new customers will become more successful. What is more successful in business? Very simple. Making more money. More specifically, making more profit. Okay, as I said, revenue, overall sales, all the money you earn from sales minus what you spend to run the business, investment, spending, whatever. Okay, so more successful simply means companies making more money, making more profit. Okay, all right, so I think it's very comprehensive. We understood the question, we understood the instruction, we understood what we need to do, and also we got to get a quick peek at the two answers that is already provided as a part of the question. So next step, of course, we'll start with the blank screen and we will decide our answer. And to get to the final answer, we need to do brainstorming. We need to plan, structure, and develop our answer. So next step, as we always do, we'll do idea generation by note-taking our answer. All right, blank screen. Let's go. All right, so the question is to keep a successful company, to keep company successful, which strategy should be prioritized? Which one should you put more importance? Okay, so one is customer retention, which means focus on keeping existing customers. And another strategy we should think about is to acquire new customers. Okay, so which one should we prioritize, right? So yeah, I'm going to go with this. Please keep in mind that this is not, number one strategy is not wrong. Okay, so maybe reason is it would cost less, so it's more cost effective. Okay, we need like loyal fan base to the business to keep making sales. Okay, and there may be many other reasons. All right, I'm not saying my answer is the better answer, but this one is quite easy for me subjectively, because it's nothing to do with it has something to do with business, but I'm trying to say it's not a very sophisticated, like really difficult business management question. It's a common sense, right? So both strategies are important. Okay, but which one is more important for a company to be more successful? So what does it mean by company to be more successful? Make more money. Okay, so how can this be achieved? Make more sales. And if you can, reduce your cost. Okay, but first and foremost, one thing you cannot get away with, when you consider a company to be successful is it's a common sense. You have to sell more product or services that the company is offering. In order to do that, which one is more important? I mean, let me be very extreme to make my point clear and perhaps hopefully logical. We should do both, but let's say we can only do one and completely abandon the other. In order to make more sales, if we only do first strategy, is it even physically possible to achieve more sales? It's not. We need to do both. But if we only sell it to existing customers and we are not allowed to attract new customers, then there's no way our sales will increase. In the best scenario, the sales will be the same, will not increase. In the worst scenario, if some of our customers leave us to our competitor, then our revenue, our sales will decrease, right? But of course, I'm being extreme. It's all hypothetical. But even if you don't do first strategy at all, but only do second strategy, of course, this is hypothetical. I'm making an extreme case to make my point clear. It's not very realistic. But even if we lose every customer we ever had, but if we get more new customers, then the customer we lose, then we'll still make more money. Right? Of course. Okay. So that's why I'm going to go with this on this one, right? So now we made a decision. Let's focus a little bit and really develop and plan our model answer. Okay. All right. Now we decided our answer. Let's restart. So keep business successful, we are going to prioritize acquiring new customers over customer retention. Customer retention is important. I'm going to say that in my introduction, my thesis, but this is more important. Okay. All right. And you can just choose one reason if you cannot think of two reasons and say exactly what I said, 2 minutes ago. And that's a full answer if you can plan it, right? Because for business to be successful, definition of successful business is making more profit. To make more profit, you have to generate more revenue and you need to reduce the cost if possible. So the most fundamentally important thing is creating as much sales as possible. And using this strategy allows you to have a chance to make more sales, to make more profit. But even though customer retention is great, it's cost effective, and it's a good strategy, but if you are only focusing on this without getting new customers, there's no way you're going to increase your revenue, or you have a very small chance. All right? And then you could stick a example, right? For example, very big and reputable companies like Amazon or Apple, okay? These companies are being successful for a long time because they have a lot of existing customers. They may be able to survive, I don't know, but they may be able to survive with keep selling to existing customers. But these huge companies never keep trying to get new customers. They do a lot of different marketing campaigns. They do a lot of new promotion to continue to get new customers to increase their sales, because that's what business should do. Although keeping their existing customers and keep selling to them is important, to increase overall sales, you must look for new customers all the time. Answer finished. Okay. So if you just wanted to use that one reason, you could have developed something like that. Okay. So I have two reasons. So let me show you at least. I thought of it. I prepared. So first reason, I'm going to say something like that. So any way possible, like it's all same meaning. Okay. So you could say, for business to be successful, you need to generate more sales. You can start something like that as a topic sentence, or the most important thing for the business to generate more sales. And second strategy, or acquiring new customers, is more important to achieve that goal. Or for business to be successful, companies should attempt to make more sales. Okay? Something like that. All of that essentially are the exactly same meaning. All right? So company must increase their sales to keep being successful. Something like that. Okay? Right? I'm going, same meaning. I'm going to write a bit simpler because this is the post. Okay? So I'm going to say something like business. I'm going to purposely make it a little bit more conceptual and general. So I can like work from my topic sentence to make it a little bit more specific, and then make more sentences out of my topic sentence. Okay. So I will say, same meaning, business must create more sales, same meaning, must grow. Then I can define what growth is in business, and then I can develop it step by step. It's a clever way, right? Business must grow to be successful. That's what business need to achieve. So in business, business growth happens, results, or means when you are making more sales, when you're making more revenue. Okay. So in order to make more sales, okay, you must try to get more new customers. If this is your real goal, you should not just focus on this, right? You should focus on this to achieve this goal. Okay. So that's pretty much it. You can use the example that I have just given you, like huge company, very, very big company like Amazon or Apple. They may have millions of customers, but trying to make more sales, trying to be more successful to achieve business growth, even those companies are looking for new customers all the time. Okay. Something like that. Or we have two reasons. So that's, I have what as like my thesis, but my body paragraph should also have what, why, how to make my structure absolutely complete. So I have what for my first body paragraph. So this is Y1 from the whole structure. Okay. So after realizing I'm in Y1, so first body paragraph, I regard this sentence as what. Okay. What for my body one. So I need why, right? So the reason is business growth means you need to make more sales. Okay. Until here is why, right? Just support that. And how this can be achieved. More sales can be achieved when you are finding more new customers and sell it to them rather than just keeping your current customers, right? So we have what, why, how done. And since I have two reasons, I can stop there. Otherwise, my answer will become too long. I mean, there's no such thing as too long, but you know what I mean. Okay, this is enough. And the second reason is, let's talk about some negatives of, we thought about the positives of what we have chosen. Let's think about the negative of what we have not chosen. Then this can be our second reason. Okay. So what's real bad about choosing this? Let's exaggerate. And not doing this at all and only choosing this. What is the risk? What is the danger? Think about it as like a business owner. You're selling something to people. Of course, because if you did not do this at all and only focus on this, and what happens if your customers go to your competitor or they don't need your product or services anymore, so they didn't go to your competitor, but they are stopped buying from you as a business, then you're screwed. You go to the bankrupt. Okay? So what is the opposite of successful in business? What is fail in business? You make no sales, no money. You go to bankrupt. Okay? So I'm going to say this. So it's kind of structured nicely. One general reason, one specific reason. But anyway, okay, I thought of one positive point I can explain. One negative point I can explain in order to achieve successful business. So let's do that. So second, it's very dangerous and unrealistic to expect that your existing customer will stay with you forever. Okay, right? Expect that your existing customers stay loyal to your business forever. Okay? I mean, you can write it in so many different sentences, as I showed you on my first topic sentence. You could just simply say, businesses could easily lose some, if not all, some of their existing customers to their competitor. You could say that. Or even simpler, you could have said, moreover, you could lose, or you can lose some of your existing customers. Then you need a backup. Then you need a pipeline to keep the money coming in. You need new sales from new customers, of course. Okay. You rely on your existing customers too much, or even 100%. And if they leave you, then we are screwed. The business will go bankrupt. Okay. So that's my reasoning. That's my second reason. So you can write any sentences related to that if you want to use my reason. Okay. So this is really easy reason. So it's really easy to develop as well. Why? Okay. Because it's reality. No matter how hard, how well you serve them, no matter how good is your product or how much great service you give to your current customer, your customer could try out or leave you and buy from your competitors. It can happen. It's more likely to happen. Okay? Even for curiosity. Okay? Let me try this one. Okay? Or they may change their taste, change their preferences, or even worse, your competitor may come up with superior product and services than you. It's a possibility. If that happens, probably if your customer is smart, then you will lose that business. That's it. That's what, why, how, right? Okay, so I explain why this would happen and how. What will happen, okay, as a result. Or you could put example in addition, or rather than logically explaining from third person's perspective, like I have done for this task, instead of that, you can stick in an example. You can create an example. You can think of an example from real life. Or if you really have to like write a novel, do it. Okay. Like when I blah, 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 right? I used Samsung's Galaxy, but I thought Apple's iPhone is a superior product because of blah, blah, blah. So I moved to Apple from Samsung, right? Something like that. Okay. Cool. So how I'm going to, okay. So it's realistic that business can lose some, if not all, of their current customer. Why does this happen? Because maybe competitors, this would be a nightmare, wouldn't it? Competitors come up with better product and services, or simply customers may change their preferences or even curiosity. Who knows? We don't know, but this can happen and this will happen in reality. So we need to be careful. We cannot just rely on our loyal customers too much. That's not a smart business strategy. Okay? Yeah. I mean, we have what, why, how here. What, why, how here. So yeah, this question, very simple. So I'll give a full what, why, how, so I'll get the full score. I won't kind of intentionally make an example because I don't need to. I already explained. But if you really want to put an example because you feel that that's more detailed and this is a test, so I want to do everything right to get the perfect score as possible, then, you know, I would personally put that Amazon example in here, you know, okay, or Samsung Galaxy mobile phone to Apple iPhone here. Okay, so you experience as you try to type it. If you explain and also exemplify, then your answer is going to be way too long. All right. If you want to do like a logical general explanation plus example, consider using just one reason. Okay, but do it in full. Then it could get up to anywhere from, you know, 135, 150 words to close to like 200 words, even with one reason, depending on how you write. Okay, so it's up to you, but I recommend you explain or give an example as a way to explain your reason. That's my recommendation, but it's fine. Anyway, it's fine. You get the perfect score if you are able to write what I explained without too much grammar mistakes and technical mistakes. In terms of development and contents and structure, is perfect. Okay? So last step, we got everything down, and I'll show you my final answer, model answer, and we'll try to match them up with the notes we have created now. That's the whole point, isn't it? Like, I know how to do this, but there's no point like just showing off like I'm able to write a full answer. I need to show you that you can do it too, exactly the way I do it. So the best way to demonstrate is hopefully show my final answer on one side and show my notes on the other side. And hopefully I can show you that this sentence came from this note and you can do it too on the test day. All right. So let's move on to the final step. Let's go, guys. All right. Let's finish this off. So I already explained first sentence. All right, let's finish this off. First sentence, I already explained. Although customer retention is important, For businesses, I believe that acquiring new customers should be prioritized for companies to succeed in the long term, thrive in the long term, to be prosperous, to continue to be prosperous in the long term. All right. As I told you, okay, so I'm going to say, although focusing on existing customer is an important strategy, I think it is more important to focus on acquiring new customers for the businesses to be successful. Okay? Full mark. Answer the question. First reason, business must grow to be successful. Okay? Business must increase their overall sales to stay successful. Okay? First of all, business must grow to stay successful. Topic sentence. Okay? What does this mean? Business growth is achieved when companies increase their overall sales. So how? So we need to acquire new customers to keep making more sales, right? To grow. To achieve growth, businesses should acquire new customers to increase their revenue, their overall sales. We can finish it here if you want it concise, okay? However, solely, see, I also exaggerated a little bit, like Paul, to make my point clearer and perhaps a little more persuasive, okay? However, solely relying on their existing customers is not likely to achieve business growth for companies, okay? Or you could have written same meaning, solely relying on their existing customers is not going to increase their overall sales at all, okay? So this part and this part is written. And also I wrote one more sentence by putting however, okay? Same thing is not going to be achieved if you just focus on existing customers. Let me scroll down a little bit. Moreover, I wrote here, we wrote together, it's dangerous and unrealistic to expect our loyal customers to buy from our business forever, okay? We could lose our existing customers, okay? Moreover, it is dangerous and unrealistic to expect that the current customers, existing customers, will keep buying from us forever, okay? Will stay loyal forever, okay? They might go to our competitors. They may shop around. We might lose our business, right? So this means, why? Businesses it will happen. It's a possibility, can lose some of their customers to competitors due to various reasons. Let me be specific, including other competitors, better products and services, superior products and services, or simply customers change in preferences, right? They may just change their mind, okay? This kind of naive expectation, so I'm emphasizing here, I'm making a strong language to try to make my point persuasive. So I said expectation that your existing customer will keep buying from our business forever. That expectation is unrealistic and dangerous. That's what I said in my topic sentence. So to link it, to relate it as a paragraph conclusion, I'm saying, because this expectation is unrealistic and dangerous, I'm calling it's naive, okay? It's naive expectation. This kind of naive expectation, my topic sentence, could seriously hurt our businesses by causing creating a reason for a reduction, decrease in total sales, total revenue. We discussed this already when we were brainstorming, right? For business, purpose of the business is to make profit. Sounds very cold, but that's actual definition, as you know, okay? The whole point of business existence is to create profit. That is the purpose of business, right? Because otherwise, business will disappear, okay? If it go bankrupt, that business won't be able to survive, then you'll never see them ever again, okay? So this is unrealistic and dangerous because you could lose your customers to other competitors for various reasons, including Therefore, this kind of naive expectation could seriously hurt businesses. So you should not just adopt keeping your existing customer strategy. You should also adopt acquiring new customers. And more than that, I think acquiring new customer is a more important strategy, okay? By causing a reduction, decrease in total sales, which is the worst thing can happen to any businesses, okay? Fine, that's done. So there'll be still already over 130 words, I think. Let me tell you, I did count the word count to tell you. I wrote a conclusion here. You don't really need it. You think you're out of time or you wrote it perfectly. You have a strong thesis. Then you don't have to have a conclusion, okay? Because you already said it and it's just a post. And also, if you think your answer is too long, it's getting like too long for your liking, then just get rid of this conclusion, right? Okay. Therefore, to stay successful, I believe businesses should prioritize acquiring new customers over focusing on serving their existing customers. So I mentioned it once again to make it perfectly clear. No mistakes can ever be made. I cannot get any reduction in scores. So if you write something like this for this question, you will definitely get the perfect score, okay? And to tell you, this was exactly 151 words, including the conclusion sentence, which you can take out. It will not affect your final score, okay? So that's it, guys. Another question, TOEFL writing question 2, type of question, writing for an academic discussion, done and dusted, perfectly explained. I hope you liked it and you feel that you learned something valuable from watching this lecture. So, you know, once again, obviously, thank you very much for watching my video. I really appreciate it. That's the whole reason why I'm able to keep making this video and put it up on my YouTube channel. So please support me. And also, if it's beneficial for you, then keep watching these videos and learn, improve, and get that TOEFL score that you're looking for. I'm here to help you. Thank you, guys. That's it. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.